Metroid Fusion. This is one of the best Metroid games in the whole series. I mean, they're all fantastic games, but this is one of my personal favorites. Along with Zero Mission, the GBA just got some really, really good Metroid games in the lineup, and they're both fantastic. So, this game was released in 2002, and it was 8 years between this one and Super Metroid, and Metroid Fusion is the fourth entry in the 2D Metroid series. Now, this game had a lot to live up to back in the day because 8 years after Super Metroid is a long time, let alone the fact that Super Metroid is just a fantastic Metroid game. And I know a lot of fans consider Super Metroid to be the best 2D Metroid game in the entire series, which I can't even argue with them. It is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend you hop on your Nintendo Switch Online, SNES, and boot up some Super Metroid and play through it because you will not be disappointed. That is probably the easiest way that you can access the game nowadays. So it's super easy to access. Highly recommend you go play Super Metroid. Now, getting into Metroid Fusion itself, I mean, the opening scene is pretty sweet to see. It's also a little bit like your first time you play this game, you see that opening screen of Samus basically crashing into an asteroid belt. It's like, whoa, what is going to happen in this game? But anyways, nonetheless, you basically, in this game, you play as Samus Aran, as always, start off fresh with your dinky pea shooter and no upgrades whatsoever. Except in this game, I think a lot of people can agree with me on this, that Samus is super weak. In this game, the fusion suit, you are so frail. You take any hits from enemies early on and it drains so much, it does so much damage, drains so much of your energy, but it does get, as most Metroid games do get, a little bit easier over time, I find, once you get a lot of energy tanks and missile expansions and so on. They just tend to get a little more smoother off the start. Usually with your dinky pea shooter of a gun and no upgrades, you're pretty weak. Now, as you may have seen in this opening cutscene, Samus got infected with the X parasite, and then she needs to be infused with Metroid DNA in order to heal her as she becomes super sick and crashes her ship into an asteroid belt. So she crashes into the asteroid belt, and then now she needs to get taken care of. So they find out that the cure for the X parasite is Metroid DNA. So they end up infusing her with Metroid DNA, and that solves the problem. So I remember way back when I was a kid finding the story a little bit interesting after playing the other Metroid games and then playing this one. As many of you may know, I mean, the first three Metroid games in the series, they're all about taking out the Metroids. They're not good for anything. Samus gets sent on missions to take them out, and they're all evil. So in this game, it's interesting to find out that the Metroids actually have a good use. So here is Samus's fusion suit. So now let's get into some gameplay here. Now this game handles incredible as well. It's very much like Zero Mission. Zero Mission was made after this game was. So it definitely, Zero Mission is a little bit more polished on the handling, but this game also handles fantastic. It's one of the better handling, less floaty Metroid games. The original Metroid on the NES was super floaty with your jumping, and also Metroid on the Game Boy as well. The second Metroid, Samus Returns, or Return of Samus, I can't remember. I always get them mixed up, which one's the original and which one's the remake. But Metroid 2 was also super floaty as well. And then Super Metroid, honestly, fantastic game all through. Handles very, very nicely, but it was also, Samus had quite a floaty jump in that game as well. So all in all, I mean, this game is just a fantastic Game Boy Advance game. It is definitely a gem of the GBA. I decided to hop on my completed save file where I got 100% of all the items. This one I played a long time ago, and my playtime was super long, as you might have seen in the menu. But I remember completing this game 100% and being so pumped, because that's one of my favorite things about Metroid games is finding all the secret items and and becoming a super soldier by the time you're done your playthrough. Now, I found that, looking back at this game now after playing Metroid Dread, there's definitely a lot of things taken from this game that were brought over to Metroid Dread when it comes to some of the ideas of the gameplay. I mean, the SAX, the main enemy that's basically a clone of Samus and has all of her abilities. It kind of reminds me all the areas where you encounter the SAX and you're kind of hiding away in the shadows to not get spotted. It reminds me of the Emmy whenever you encounter a room with the Emmy robots in Metroid Dread. You don't want to get seen, so you just run and hide. And this game is very similar with how that works with the SAX as well whenever you encounter it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I highly recommend you check out Metroid Fusion. It is now available on the Game Boy Advance Virtual Console and on Nintendo Switch Online, so I highly recommend you try it out. And anyways, without further ado, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one.